The deferred resignation program is one piece of the wide-ranging platform of the second Trump administration. Since taking office, Trump has put in tariffs on trading partners, reopened Guantanamo Bay as a place for holding migrants, and cut billions of dollars in funding to the USAID, which distributes money to countries in need around the world. So Trump has also promised to protect women. He spun his ban on trans athletes as an end to men in women's sports. And he also has argued in favor of states' rights on the abortion debate, which has enabled some states to implement restrictive policies around abortion.
So lots to talk about. Clearly, joining us now to talk about women's rights in the Trump era is Robert Preuhs. Dr. Robert Preuhs, thank you for being here. And you are the chair of the political science department at MSU Denver. I'm sure your students have a lot of questions. Our viewers do as well. I wanted to first ask you about the SAVE Act.
Sure.
And when I was exploring it, there is a lot of confusion surrounding it. Congressional Republicans are pushing to pass the bill that would require specific documentation to prove citizenship. And what critics are saying is that it will disproportionately affect, one, women who are in married relationships, because if you change, and this is where a lot of the verbiage gets confusing, if this becomes a law, if you change your last name, which many people choose to do once you get married, you're going to have to present additional documentation that we are not used to, and that could hurt people as they register to vote. Can you expand on this?
Sure, I sure can. And you know, one of the things about the SAVE Act is it requires proof of citizenship. And that proof of citizenship can come in a form of a passport. It can come in a form of an ID, a state-issued ID that has the citizenship indicator on it. Our Colorado IDs do not, by the way. Or a birth certificate. And the difficulty with that are twofold. One, for married women who take their husband's name, as you change your name, what you need to do is not only get that birth certificate or your passport, but also have that document that shows that you have legally changed your name, because being able to track down to that birth citizenship is impossible without that kind of transaction of your names and the documentation of it. So that's one hurdle. The other one is that these documents have to be presented according to the proposal right now, the House bill, in person. Right? And so we have, of course, online registration in Colorado. We have same-day registration. Exactly how states will implement this in-person documentation is going to be tricky, and something we haven't really talked about in Colorado, which is a state that really kind of opens up and is seen as a gold standard for allowing folks to vote.
Let's switch gears a bit, because there's so much we can talk about, right? I mean, President Trump got in office and has been moving at a rapid pace, making good on all these campaign promises. And one thing we talked a lot about last fall was transgender rights and, you know, the need for health care and those executive orders. What happens to them? Do you think they stand?
Right. Well, you know, almost the answer to most of these is it's going to be decided by the courts, right? And I mean, there are some elements of these executive orders and executive actions that are clear within the president's purview, but much of this is going to go down to the courts. And then that actually takes some standing, right? Someone has to have some damage before it gets to the courts. And so we're really starting to see just the tip of the iceberg in terms of what the process is going to look like. But certainly we've seen it already, you know, removing, you know, other or an X as an indicator on your passport, something I just, you know, was just renewed myself in a male perspective. But all of that going down the line, and then how much that reverberates down to local, state governments, places like my institution that receive federal funds, and how much, you know, leeway they can pull in terms of how we practice our educational delivery.
And what do you think is I mean, we know Trump and many people under the Trump administration have expressed their views when it comes to reproductive rights.
Right.
Where do you see it going in the next 4 years?
Yeah, I mean, I think for the most part, we're going to see the status quo. That is, that the states varying greatly in terms of opportunities, but also protections for women's rights in terms of reproduction. We may see some introductions, certainly, of a national abortion ban, something along the lines of whatever the minimum state is, probably not an outright ban, but some sort of low end in terms of the pregnancy, you know, weeks and term. But again, those will be state by state, because the other side of it is that we got rid of the floor of the protections of Roe v. Wade, but it allows states like California to pursue policies that reflect their preferences, but it also allows very conservative states that would prefer to ban abortion outright to continue with that.
There's so many questions, because when you hear Trump say that he cares about women, he's fighting for women, when you look at the actual executive orders, what does it really mean? But I mean, I'm curious, just, keep it real with all the things that we've seen. Do you think gender pay gap could be affected by this?
Well, sure, and partly because one of the things you have to remember about, say, the DEI initiatives is that one of the major recipients of benefits of that have been white women in particular.
That's right.
Right, and so once you remove those programs that were intended to provide equity and equal footing into this ladder of socioeconomic climbing that ladder, you're going to have unintended consequences, and that's going to have effects down the line. And I think what folks that propose these targeted bills forget is that those targeted bills have widespread implications, and we're just seeing, as I said, the tip of the iceberg and what that looks like.
Wow. Well, thank you for your insight, Dr. Preuhs. We appreciate you.